Well, back by popular demand, I am pleased to be joined by Mike Nellis, Democratic strategist, the host and author of Endless Urgency, which is like blowing up all over Substack. And he is currently waging a one-man war on basically everybody at Fox News. Laura Loomer, we're going to get into that. And he's not celebrating this yet, but I'm going to like pitch it for him. I'm going to celebrate it for him. He's also the author of these iconic "Good fucking morning" tweets. And by the way, actually, Mike, before we get started, do you have a good fucking morning for this morning? Did you have
I think
one?
what was it this morning? It was good fucking morning to anybody who's still angry that Roseanne Barr was fired for being racist 7 years ago.
Love it. Love it. When,
The
by the
entire
way,
conservative movement on X right now is like, you guys got Roseanne Barr fired. And I'm like, she got herself fired, man. I don't know.
when Trump was president, like MAGA just doesn't understand time.
Right.
They were blaming Obama. Do you know Obama got Roseanne fired? And it's like, out of office? Does that mean he could get Kimmel back on the air? Is he that powerful?
Obama is very powerful. They think he's just pulling all the strings.
Yeah, Jesus. So, Mike, what's new, man? I want to jump into some things, but like, it feels like it's been a very active time for you with your various confrontations on Piers Morgan, Fox News, Tommy Lauren, and you're on a crusade, or rather, Laura Loomer's on a crusade against you. So, has it been chaotic?
It has been chaotic. Laura Loomer, for folks that don't know, is Donald Trump's basically closest advisor. She is not in the White House, but she is a big MAGA influencer that he listens to quite a bit. She has been obsessed with me for the better part of the last 3 years and concocting ridiculous conspiracy theories about my business and the work that I do that don't make any sense. She actually once got Jim Jordan and the House Judiciary Committee to send me a subpoena for a bunch of my client emails, which we did not comply with because I'm not going to put up with being bullied like that by the federal government. And
Oh, well, sidebar, real
Loomer,
quick. I mean,
sure.
Jim Jordan is not famous for complying with subpoenas either. So, did you feel like, it turnabout's fair play?
Oh, I could pull them for you at some point, but there's a series of public letters between Jim Jordan and I, which are about the equivalent of me going "fuck you" every time in legalese. My poor lawyers had to clean up my language every time I wanted to send it. But no, Jordan is, he's a stooge. But Loomer's been coming after me, and there's been this back and forth. And for a long time, I was quiet about it. It was when Biden was president. I didn't really want to like cause any attention to come to it, but like now I'm just done. Like I'm done being quiet because it doesn't work with these people. Hit dogs holler, so I'm responding to them. And Loomer got so incensed at the fact that I was holding her accountable for the things that she says, because I think a lot of people don't know. In the last couple of weeks, she's been feuding with Charlie Kirk. And her and Nick Fuentes and a bunch of others were calling him things like fascist and globalist and stuff like that. And now she's blaming me for Kirk's death. I reminded her that she deleted a bunch of tweets attacking Kirk. And what she decided to do was send me a threatening message that mentioned my son, which forced me to have to file a police report with the Chicago Police Department last Friday, because after what happened to Kirk, I'm taking any threat seriously right now.
No, 100%, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. You absolutely should. Well wishes to you and your family. You said a lot of things that I want to unpack there before I get your reaction to Jimmy Kimmel. And we want to go in depth more on the Laura Loomer feud. And obviously, I want to get your take on Charlie Kirk. But you said a couple of things there. Number one, you said that you were quiet at one point. Doesn't seem like you, number one. And number two, when you gave the police report and they were looking for a description, did you show Jigsaw from the Saw movies? Like, was that your in order to identify that the person in the report?
I did not know. The Jigsaw memes make me laugh because Loomer likes to point out my weight. For folks that don't know, I weigh about 330 pounds now, but I used to weigh 600 pounds. So what Loomer likes to do is send me old photos of myself weighing 600 pounds. And I always chuckle because I'm like, why are you attacking me with one of my greatest personal achievements that I was able to lose all of that weight? Like, it's a really hard thing to do.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's just my whole life is different, and I'm happy for any reminder I can get of what it used to be. No, look, with Loomer, she's a bully. She's a miserable person, and this is, I think, a broader thing, and it's one of the reasons that her and Trump are so close. They are very broadly miserable people who want you to be as miserable and unhappy as they are, and I refuse to do that. So you mentioned being quiet for a couple of years. The reason we were quiet during all of that time was, one, Loomer didn't have any actual power or authority when Trump was outside of the government, so it didn't really matter. We decided to go public after the House Judiciary Committee stuff because I'm like, all right, these people are listening to her now. We need to be clear about what the truth is, and we need to correct the record. The other thing is we wanted to protect our staff. I mean, our staff have gotten harassed over and over and over again, particularly my business partner, my former business partner, because she's no longer with the firm. And it was the right thing to do at the time. But I think given the creeping role of fascism, we need more people that are going to step up and speak truth, because they just spread lies all over the internet. I mean, to your point earlier, they're claiming that Barack Obama got Roseanne Barr fired. Obama wasn't even president when she got fired.
Yeah, MAGA just doesn't understand time. I think I said it yesterday. I'm like, you gotta, because there's so many examples. I'm like, it's almost like to them the time stone is real from like the Marvel movies, except it's actually just a green rock and they're just drooling over it. Like they have no conception of linear time. Well, again, good luck to you in the ongoing battle with Laura Loomer, because she seems like very obsessive and like she's not going to let it go. But maybe she'll find a different target along the way, or hopefully somebody will sufficiently stand up to her in a way where she loses a lot of her power. Because as you say, she's basically right now the de facto HR director of the White House, right? She has Donald Trump's in her ear. So good luck with that. I do want to get your take on obviously what happened last night, Jimmy Kimmel. I'll be honest with you. The Colbert thing, and I like Stephen Colbert. I acknowledged it. I clocked it. It didn't hit me quite so hard because it took a matter of months. This happened in like 3 days. Jimmy Kimmel makes a comment, a relatively innocuous comment about Charlie Kirk, and again, we'll talk about Kirk later. And then the FCC chairman makes his public threats, and then hours later, he's suspended. So what was your reaction to all that? Because I have to imagine it was like a holy shit moment.
Yeah, so I've actually never really been much of a Jimmy Kimmel fan. I don't think I've ever watched an episode of his show before. I've seen clips online. I'm not much of a late night TV guy. I am a Colbert guy. I love the old Colbert Report, so I'm actually hopeful that it brings him back. And my overall take on this is probably a bit more nuanced than some other folks in this moment, which is, one, the Republicans are super excited to have their own cancel culture back. They are a party exclusively of grievances. And if you go look at X right now, every major MAGA influencer is celebrating Jimmy Kimmel being suspended. They are bringing up every instance that this has happened to someone who is a part of their movement. They're particularly focused on Roseanne Barr. I do not know why that is the hill that they want to die on. Essentially, nobody in this country likes Roseanne, and she went on that crazy racist tirade. I don't get that. But again, it is a party purely and exclusively built on petty grievances with no solutions to improve your life. So it makes sense to me that they go all in on this. So they view Jimmy Kimmel as the natural consequence of what happened to Roseanne, when they couldn't be more different. Roseanne and Jimmy Kimmel, their employer was ABC. ABC, as their employer, has a right to fire them if they say something they find to be offensive or has crossed the line or something like that. That's pretty obvious. It's not a First Amendment issue. What is a First Amendment issue, and what is wrong, is the abuse of power from the federal government, from Donald Trump and the FCC chairman, because threatening to revoke the license of ABC because they don't like what Jimmy Kimmel said. And Kimmel's comment reads worse than it sounds. If you go watch the video, it's the most innocuous thing I've ever seen. He gets suspended, but Brian Kilmeade gets to keep his job for saying that we should murder homeless people, which is weird and horrible. It doesn't add up to me. And it's a gross abuse of power. And another example of Trump using the power of the federal government to act out petty revenge because Jimmy Kimmel makes fun of him on live TV.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. Like I think it's like this is the compounding nature of all this. Again, something that he accomplished before the cancellation of Colbert was a matter of months. Now it's accelerating exponentially to a matter of days. And it's like all these other aspects of the assault on free speech. And then you have Brandon Carr. Like, did you watch Andor, that Star Wars TV show? Did
Yes.
you watch that? Okay. There's like this line in it, I think it's season 2, where it's like they're not even bothering to lie anymore. Right. And like that's like the ultimate insult. And I feel like that's where we are with the Trump administration. And that Brandon Carr, who's always been, a bit of a snake as far as I can tell, he's like over there like posting celebratory emojis. He's explicitly making the threats on Benny Johnson. Like there's no shame. And people are like reposting his old tweets like, hey, you said this shit 2 years ago under President Biden about this, that, and he just doesn't care. You can almost see like the slight smile. He delights in the fact that he gets the license to be an absolute hypocrite and wield power in a way that the Biden FCC never did. Piers Morgan, who you frequently spar with, and I'm hoping you get a chance to spar with again, he's defending what Brandon Carr's FCC did, what Donald Trump did. And it's like, bro, Piers, you're a big fan of Fox News. I want you to imagine the shitstorm that would have ensued had the Biden administration been like, you know what, Fox? You just had to pay the single biggest defamation settlement in American history over the Dominion lies. We're going to come down on you like a bag of fucking bricks. How would have Piers react? How would have Fox react? How would have Brendan Carr have reacted at that? And so what do you think about the hypocrisy there? Do you take my stance was that they know it and actually delight in the hypocrisy?
Yeah, they don't have a problem with cancel culture. What they have a problem with is cancel culture coming for them. They don't want to be held accountable for the things that they say and the things that they do. They want Donald Trump to be able to spew whatever nonsense he's going to do. They want all the Fox News hosts to be able to lie all the time and say whatever. I mean, Tommy Lahren yesterday, who I've sparred with before, she was talking about how there's an LGBTQ death cult mafia that's roaming the country murdering people. And I'm like, what are you guys even talking about? There was another host yesterday that was talking about transgender terror cells in America, and they're just making shit up. And I don't know if you've ever seen, there's an episode of South Park where they're critiquing Family Guy episodes. And the way Family Guy episodes are written is that there's like a couple of seals with like balls that have words on it and they push them together. That kind of feels how conservatives are currently making their narrative right now. They're just adding scary words together and hoping that you don't notice. But with Piers Morgan, with the rest of them, I made this point on Piers' show. Piers claims to be anti-woke. He claims that he wants wokeism to die, but he can't because his business model is solely built on wokeism. And then on top of that, they want to be able to cancel you. And we have to get to a point where we move beyond this. And there's very few people who are willing to say that, like, I think it went a little bit too far on the left. There were some people who genuinely should have been held accountable, and it went a little bit too far to the point where we kind of boxed people in and alienated a good part of the culture. Conservatives are doing the same thing now too. They're intoxicated and drunk on the power, and they are now using that at every level. You've got Donald Trump going after Harvard, going after Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert. He says he wants Fallon and Seth Meyers fired. It is not the role of the federal government to be making these decisions. If ABC, NBC, Paramount, et cetera, don't think these shows should move forward, that's fine. That's a business decision. It's between them and the hosts and everybody else and the agents. It should not involve the federal government. And to me, it is wild that the most powerful person on earth is spending all of his time doing stuff like this and doing nothing to build affordable housing, help you put groceries on the table, help you retire with dignity, take a vacation, live your life, eliminate medical debt, eliminate student loan debt. He's not doing anything that is going to improve your life. It's all about improving his life and squashing dissent of people that he doesn't like. Even if you don't like Jimmy Kimmel's comment, and a lot of people don't, fine, that's fine. You're allowed to feel the way that you feel. Using the FCC as a threat to revoke the license to remove these people based on a public benefit line that no one has ever interpreted this way is wrong. It is the literal definition of fascism. I know we're not supposed to say that in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder because they want to police our language, but that is the textbook definition of fascism.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll point out, because I did an updated video about it earlier. We've also had corroboration from Rolling Stone. ABC has leaked, or rather leaks. Sources have leaked inside ABC that many of the senior executives didn't even think that Kimmel crossed the line, but they explicitly were afraid of the Trump administration. So it's very much about the threat, confirming what we already suspected. Then you have Sinclair coming out and saying, even if ABC lifts the suspension, we're not going to put his ass on our networks or our broadcasts until he apologizes, he makes a personal donation to Charlie Kirk's family, and makes a personal donation to TPUSA, which is staggering. That would be like, using the example of Kilmeade, threatening Fox via Kilmeade's comments about homeless people, and then forcing Kilmeade to not only apologize but to donate to Planned Parenthood. Right? Like it's staggering. I want to ask you. I guess I'll ask you about the Charlie Kirk thing, and then I want to ask you about, basically with all of this, where do Democrats go from here? But let's talk about Charlie Kirk. I know you were stunned. I saw your reactions. You were on News Nation multiple times. I think you were on air either that day or when the story broke or something like that.
I was on news. I was live on Newsmax when the story broke.
Newsmax. Okay. So obviously you were shocked and appalled and you condemned it. My take on it, and you tell me what you think about this. I was stunned. I condemn the violence against Charlie Kirk. I condemn political violence in general. I'm not going to lionize him or pretend that I felt differently about him or his politics and what I did. But in this country, you're supposed to be able to express your opinion regardless of whether or not I like you or respect your politics. I also believe that the right is shamelessly monopolizing on this and rewriting the narrative, and that Donald Trump, who has the highest responsibility to condemn political violence more so than you or me or any left-wing commentator or even any Democrat for that matter, he is abysmally failing the moment and making it so much worse. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think the only thing worse than celebrating somebody's murder is using it as a pretext to create more political violence. And that's what the Republican Party is doing right now. So the handful of people on the left who are celebrating this are wrong and shouldn't be doing it. I try to be a human being in these moments. And I go, okay, what do Charlie Kirk and I have in common? We're both husbands. We're both fathers. We're both friends. Like, we're both politically active people who speak our minds. Like, I feel out for him and his family in this moment. He did not deserve what happened to him. The attempt to lionize him into the Martin Luther King of the right is disgusting and disturbing. The attempt to blame this on the Democrats when there is zero evidence of this person's ideology. The number of times that I have been told that I share an ideology with this shooter who is not a registered Democrat and is not somebody who's espoused any bit of anything that I've seen. Like, I've said this before, if there is evidence somewhere, like Laura Loomer's blamed me repeatedly for Charlie Kirk's murder, which doesn't make any sense. But like, if you show me that he was a subscriber to my newsletter, I would take a moment and go, all right, did I contribute to this? What's the right way to reflect on it? What is the right's responsibility and accountability to the language that they use? Donald Trump sets the tone for the nation. He sets the tone for the MAGA movement. What's his reaction been? Blaming the Democrats, calling us scum, saying he's going to go after his political opponents. JD Vance hosted Charlie Kirk's show this week, which I originally thought was kind of a nice potential opportunity to tribute for him, even if I didn't like what he was going to say. And he used it as a platform to attack Democrats and encourage more violence against them. So what they're doing, from the lionization to the weaponization, is completely wrong. And I think they are, at a bare minimum, they are violating the legacy they're trying to create for Charlie Kirk as somebody who was someone who brought people together and had difficult conversations. And I kind of deny that that's really what his legacy was, but they had an opportunity to define it that way. And they're now walking away with it. And I'll make this final point before I hand it back to you. It is one thing when a small number of people on the left say something stupid and they can be called out for that. I think celebrating anybody's murder is wrong. Those people are not major Democratic Party players. They're not leaders. They're not influencers. They're just random people on the internet that they're elevating. Same stuff that they did with Sydney Sweeney. There was no serious person on the left who believed that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad was some like Nazi propaganda, but the Republican Party made it their whole personality that week. The difference is that the worst, most offensive things that have been said on the right are said by the president of the United States, the vice president of the United States, and the rest of the Republican Party leadership and its influencers. That's the difference. Adults in the Democratic Party who are imperfect, and the party is imperfect, but the adults do not run the Republican Party.
No, I love that. I love that you call it the false equivalence. I do it here on my show. I've done it in debates with people that, there are extremists in the Democratic Party, but they're on the fringe. They don't wield the levers of power, whereas extremists are rewarded in the Republican Party with the levers of power. And again, yes. I subscribe to the Uncle Ben school of power and politics from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. The sitting president of the United States has more power and therefore more responsibility than anybody. And so when I see Piers and so many others say, well, I'm not really worried about what the president does. What about this random TikTok user? No, fuck that. Donald, if it were a Democratic president, you would not be adopting that standard. And so I'm tired of people grading Trump on a curve. Last question. One is substantive and the other one's about you. The last question is, where do you want the Democrats to go from here, given what we've seen from Charlie Kirk, or around Charlie Kirk, I should say, his assassination, and then, of course, what we're seeing from Trump's war on free speech? How do you think Democrats need to react to this moving forward?
Well, I think Democrats need to continue to react forcefully. There's been this idea that we need to be hands off for a little while, and I think that's objectively wrong. Like, I've been asked a number of times by a number of reporters if I'm going to stop, being as aggressive, calling out what Donald Trump is doing, if I'm going to stop calling him a fascist. And the answer to that is no. And I've come at it from this perspective. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. And that's what it is. And I'm not going to stop calling it out for what it is. Laura Loomer, in the tweet, I mentioned this earlier, where she was accusing me of Charlie Kirk's murder. She was sharing a tweet of mine where I called Donald Trump a fascist. Do you know what I was reacting to? It was a 10-day-old tweet, because that's only how long it's been, of Donald Trump posting an AI-generated meme of the city of Chicago napalm by the federal government, promising to invade Chicago with the National Guard.
Your city.
My city, the city that I live in, the city where my son lives in and my wife lives in. So do not tell me what I can or cannot call someone who's going to post that. If he stops doing shit like that, I'll consider stop calling him a fascist. That's the answer. Democrats need to get more aggressive. Now, we can't get bogged down and distracted by this stuff, because the Kirk stuff, it's important. We should be talking about violence. We should be talking about crime, keeping Americans safe. I want to be clear about that. But part of the reason that the Republicans have gone full ham into this, to make this their entire thing, to lionize Kirk, to suck up 2 weeks of media time for something, which, by the way, did not happen for Melissa Hortman when Melissa Hortman was murdered at Point Blank Range. Did not happen for Gretchen Whitmer when she was nearly kidnapped and assassinated in her own right. Didn't happen for Josh Shapiro when his house was nearly burned down. They're doing it because they want you talking about this and nothing else. And so we have to get back to reminding people, you are worse off than you were 9 months ago. Everything's more expensive. It is harder for you to build the life that you want on your own terms, to put food on the table, retire with dignity, and maybe take a goddamn vacation every now and again. We have to get back to that messaging, but we should not be hands off with this, because they're not going to be hands off with us. If they take every opportunity to tell you what bloodthirsty murderers we are, if they use every story that happens to go after the trans community and other marginalized communities, we should never for a second slow down our critique of what they are doing.
No, I love it. I love to hear you say that. Last question is about you. What's going on with Mike Nellis as far as like content, endless urgency? What's going on? What can you preview for the audience?
Yeah, my Substack is at endlessurgency.com. We go live usually about twice a day, but I go for sure live every day at 5 o'clock Eastern. Yesterday, we had my dad on. My dad is a 3-time Trump voting Republican, 34-year veteran of the FBI. We got into it on Charlie Kirk and guns. My dad is a really, really good novel take on guns that I think people should hear, the left should hear in particular, because my dad is very pro gun control, coming from a law enforcement background. I think people should hear what he had to say about Kash Patel. It was really good. And we're doing some really exciting stuff. So I've officially incorporated Endless Urgency. It is now a business. It is a media production company. We have purchased a studio space. We're going to start building out an in-person studio to do more in-person stuff. Our first interview in person will be with Maxwell Frost on October 7th.
Nice.
I don't know if we're going to be able to use the space for that, but otherwise I'm going to have to figure out where I'm going to do it at, because I currently don't know if I'm doing it at. And then we're making some hires. So we're bringing on like a full-time video editor. We're bringing on a community manager, working hard to make sure the company's making enough money to pay those people a living wage. But we are dramatically scaling up the work. At the same time, I'm continuing to advise my clients and try to build a Democratic Party that's got some fight into it.
Love to hear it, man. Congratulations on all the success. Good luck on the new studio. And the last question, who's more stubborn and outspoken, you or your father?
I think you would have to say me at this point, because I post
Gotcha.
publicly, but there's no person on the planet more stubborn than my father by a mile. But if you watch the show, it's like, it's a good example of how we can still love each other and come together in community. And I've made this point so many times. I think one of the mistakes that the left has made is we've isolated ourselves from people who disagree with us. And my dad is not a bad person because he voted for Donald Trump. He has views that I find, offensive and repugnant, and I've told him as much, but he's still my dad. And the other thing is, I think I become a sharper debater in those moments when I engage with somebody who I fundamentally disagree with. And how do you know what you believe in and how strongly you believe in it if nobody ever questions it? I think that's a mistake that the left has made. I mean, I'm doing Sean Spicer's show on Tuesday. I'm doing his podcast this coming week, and I'm really excited to get into it with Sean, because he's going to have very different perspectives for me, and he'll push me to be a better debater.
Well, I'll definitely keep my eyes out for that. Mike, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.